Join us for an empowering experience. Hiding Behind the Lipstick, Women's Conference. Date: Saturday, May 17, 2025. Time: 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Location: Growing by Grace Church. Ticket price includes meal, worship experience, and amazing speakers. Are you ready for an unforgettable day of healing, empowerment, and transformation? The Hiding Behind the Lipstick Women's Conference is designed to uplift, inspire, and renew women from all walks of life. What to expect: dynamic and inspirational speakers sharing wisdom and life-changing testimonies. Engaging activities designed to help you reflect, grow, and connect. A delicious catered meal included with your ticket. Networking and community. Be surrounded by strong, like-minded women. Vendors and resources to support your personal and spiritual growth. Tickets are on sale now. At your tickets today on Eventbrite. Don't miss out on this powerful gathering of women ready to break free and thrive. Sponsorship opportunities available. Want to support this transformational event? We have sponsorship packages available that will provide brand exposure and community impact. Contact us for details. Link for more.
Women in Ministry, an anthology by Stephanie M. Seaton, featuring co-authors Apostle Patrick L. Taylor, Pastor Latoya Harris, Minister Melody Carter, Elder-elect Nathaniah Simeon, Tracy D. Hill, Elena Maria, and Tanisha Priolo, a powerful collection of testimonies, faith, and purpose. Women in Ministry is more than just a book. It's a testament to the strength, resilience, and unwavering faith.
Join us for an empowering experience. Hiding Behind the Lipstick, Women's Conference. Date: Saturday, May 17, 2025. Time: 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Location: Growing by Grace Church. Ticket price includes meal, worship experience, and amazing speakers. Are you ready for an unforgettable day of healing, empowerment, and transformation? The Hiding Behind the Lipstick Women's Conference is designed to uplift, inspire, and renew women from all walks of life. What to expect: dynamic and inspirational speakers sharing wisdom and life-changing testimonies. Engaging activities designed to help you reflect, grow, and connect. A delicious catered meal included with your ticket. Networking and community. Be surrounded by strong, like-minded women. Vendors and resources to support your personal and spiritual growth. Tickets are on sale now. At your tickets today on Eventbrite. Don't miss out on this powerful gathering of women ready to break free and thrive. Sponsorship opportunities available. Want to support this transformational event? We have sponsorship packages available that will provide brand exposure and community impact. Contact us for details. Link for more.
Hello, everybody. It's your boy, your nephew, the man behind the sax, Pastor Alex Allen. Listen, I am so excited to be playing and ministering at the premier conference that's going to kick off the summer, Hiding Behind the Lipstick. And I am just so excited to be in a place where we are going to usher in the presence of God. Listen, I need you to register on Eventbrite if you haven't done so. You don't want to miss this conference. Look, you have some dynamic speakers. And one of the parts is that lunch is included. Can you believe that? And the other part is, ladies, listen at this. They're going to raffle off a Coach bag. Now, I know y'all want to get in on that. But the most important thing is that we will be in a place where transformation, empowerment, and life-changing events will take place. So please, please register on eventbrite.com. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Hope to see you there.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon. With your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. I'm so glad that you've tuned in with us tonight. Tonight, we have another amazing guest here in the studio with me. I want to welcome author DeAndrae Hinton. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We finally got here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, for all of you that are tuning in tonight, make sure that you go ahead and like, tag, and share. We're going to have an amazing conversation tonight and hear some of the amazing things that this author's got going on. He's doing a lot in the community and working with children. Also, we've got some big news to announce at the end of our conversation tonight. About his son, amazing young man, got some amazing things going on. So go ahead and get your popcorn, like, tag, share, subscribe. Okay. Go ahead and tune in. If you have some questions, we will address your questions as we go through the interview. Okay. So feel free to ask your questions or comment as we go through the process. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off, DeAndre. The very first question that I ask all of my guests is please tell us, who is DeAndre Hinton?
Well, I am a teacher, father, adjunct professor. I am a advocate for autism and special needs, and yeah, that's a few of the hats I wear.
Okay. All right. Very good. So I'm going to read a little bit of his bio just to kind of let you guys know. It's kind of just re-emphasizing some of the things that he just said. But he is, again, a dedicated author, father, educator, autism advocate, and a former professor of special education chairman, committed to making a meaningful impact in the lives of others with a passion for education and personal growth. He has devoted his career to empowering students, supporting families, and fostering inclusive communities. He is also a board chair for an organization called Autism Dads Social Club. So we're going to talk about some amazing things tonight. Let's kick it off. Tell us a little bit about who was DeAndre growing up. Where did you come from? A big family, small family? Kind of tell us a little bit about you.
It was just me, my mom, and my brother growing up.
Okay.
I want to say since maybe middle school, I was just pretty much sports was all I was into. You know, brother's about 6 years older than me, so he was out of the house way before I even got to high school. So most of that time I was just me by myself with my mom. But yeah, I would say like I played sports a lot, and I didn't like tell anyone, but I was writing at home and just like little short stories here and there, but I never really like let people know that I did that.
Okay. So about what age did you start writing?
I want to say maybe like 15 or 16, because like I was about a few years after I got into reading, and that's when my aunt gave me like my first novel, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know books can like feel like movies. So
Yeah.
that just jump started my journey into just like reading, and I got loaded up my book collection, and like out of nowhere I just started writing.
That's amazing. So did you start with poetry? Like a lot of people, I know me, myself, I started out with poetry, and then I tried to be a rapper at one time, DeAndre. That didn't work out for me. But I was trying to write songs and rap and stuff. That, trust me, I'm glad the books worked for me. But I kind of started out with that, like songs and poetry. Did you go straight to books, or did you kind of go with songs and poetry first?
No, I'm far from the artist, so I did I did maybe like short stories.
Okay.
And then I did do like some poems, but mainly just like little short stories. And I would share them to certain people, and just getting that feedback, and it was just like one day I was like, you know what, all this writing I'm doing and or I've done, and knowing I'm good at it, it was like, you know what, Mom, you just use what you're good at, and so I just shared with a few people, like, I think I'm gonna write a book, about my son, since he recently moved with me, and so got a lot of feedback, especially from others who have either a child of their own, or a sibling, or a family member who has autism. And so once I kind of put that out there that I was going to do it, and that's when I was like, yes, it's needed. And I really didn't. Well, I would say I'm still seeing how much it was needed.
Yeah, I'm going to show a picture of your promo for your book. So this is DeAndrae here. My favorite mistakes, lessons I've learned through accountability. I mean, man, that the name itself, so many people do not take accountability. But this is an amazing advertisement here of the book. I had the pleasure of meeting DeAndrae back in October of last year. It's almost that time again, but we met October of last year at the National Black Book Festival. And one of the things that stood out when I met him is that he had his son with him. And I was just like, oh, okay. He's written a book about his son, and his son is here with him today. Another commendable thing about that is that he's actually a single dad. So a single dad, not only, having his son, but writing the book, and then giving him the opportunity to come along the journey with him. Tell us how your son is kind of expressed. Is he interested, or is he kind of like, I don't want to go? Like, what's his thoughts and feelings about this authorship thing?
I would say this, like, for him having autism, he's probably a little bit way more social than me. So he will probably sell more books than I will. And giving him the opportunity to be social, that's just everything he would love to do. And I mean, if you just, watched him while we were at that book fair, he was everywhere, taking pictures with everybody, and just socializing, and just having, and being himself. And so, being in his zone. And so that's, for that particular event, he was pretty anticipating that. He wanted to be there.
Okay, so you probably had talked it up for a little while. He was ready for it.
I mean, not really. Like, I just told him once, and he was like, okay. It wasn't too much talking him into. Like, once I told him what it was and what we were doing, and he was on board.
So let's talk about that big accountability word. That is a big word in itself. And I want to say the title again: My Favorite Mistakes, Lessons I've Learned Through Accountability. How did you come up with that topic, and what was your inspiration?
Well, I had my favorite mistakes. That came as I was writing it. Actually, you know what? I actually came up with that before I started writing that part of it. And that the idea was, just me going through that journey of raising him, and understanding that, everything that I was extra hard on myself for, it was a lesson to be learned from. And, through therapy and just, counseling and things like that, and being able to just go back and forth and understanding, like, you are, he's 17, don't get me wrong, but you're still kind of a new parent when he came and moved in with you. So it's like a lot of these things that you're thinking that, oh, you're the worst dad in the world, or, this was a huge mess up. And it's like, no, this is just things that every parent goes through. And I just had to learn that. And so eventually it got to the point where, I was quicker to learn from some of the things that occurred, as if you in the book, it would tell you like the mistakes I made, but the things I learned from. And that's why I say those are my favorite ones, because, if I can grow from them, then, to me, it's not necessarily a mistake. So then the subtitle, with the help from my publisher, actually, with Divine House Publishing, Dr. Pfizer, we were on the phone and we were talking about that. And he was saying, we were going over different covers for the book. And he was saying that, with my favorite mistakes, you don't know what it's about. So he had like a whole few covers out, was like, it doesn't go with the book. And so he was saying, may add a subtitle. And then so we were kind of just going back and forth as, him suggesting titles, and I'm kind of editing it, and me, we was going back and forth. And then finally we were like, there it is, lessons I've learned through accountability, which, again, that's where what the book is mostly about. I wouldn't be able to learn from my mistakes if I didn't hold myself accountable. And I just had to learn a lot of things that, I had to, come to grips with as a dad, and, mixing that in with the educator as well,
Right.
and then I'm an advocate for autism at that. And so it's like, sometimes I forget, right, what hat is on at that point. And sometimes, the educator hat be on when the dad hat needs to be on. And,
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I don't think I would be able to even write that book, or even be able to talk about, my experiences and learning from them, if I didn't hold myself accountable.
Yeah. So, like you said that, you do wear a lot of hats, but what I think the amazing thing about it is the dad, the educator, the committee member, the social club member, all of them are still in the same vein of helping people, to navigate and find their place and being inclusive. Um, Tell me a little bit about the emotional sovereignty. What does that look like? And mentorship, what does that look like?
To me, it's just becoming aware of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And, what I mean by aware is not necessarily saying what to do with them, because that's everyone's choice.
Right.
But you still need to be aware, right? Aware of your way of thinking, if it is led by emotion or not. Your actions, if it's led by emotion or not. Your decisions, if it's led by emotion or not. Even your feelings, right? Your feelings led by emotions or not. And so it just become aware of that. And, again, as a father, I had to also become aware of when I'm, either teaching my son something, or if I'm correcting him about something, and I have to ask myself, is it coming from a place of emotion right now? Or is this something that's really going to help him in life? And so it's like, I have to check myself and say, okay, well, is what he's doing just getting on my nerves, or is what he's doing something that's going to prevent him from being successful in life? And once I have
let me stop you for just a minute. I got to have you repeat that, because you said something so deep and so profound just then that I need you to rewind and say that again, because so many people don't, a lot of us, and I say us, we don't think about what we say, and we don't think about how we say it or why we say it. And the sad part about it is, DeAndre, once we say those things, we can't take them back, right?
Right.
So can you repeat what you just said about trying to find out if it's from a place of pretty much teaching or emotion? Kind of, I'm rephrasing, but can you say it the way that you said it, please?
I'll try. So yeah, like I had to, check myself when I would, either react to certain things that my son was doing. And so, I would have to ask myself, hey, am I correcting him out of a place of emotion right now? If it's something that's just getting on my nerves, or is it something that he actually needs to learn as he grows in life? Because you said, you got to be careful on what you say, because, I could just raise him on what gets on my nerves, but then I kind of, hinder him from his own growth. right? And so for me, it's like, especially when I'm looking at parenting from an autism parent perspective, you kind of want that child to grow up and be independent and be himself, right? You don't want to hinder them. And so I think a big part of that was, like I said, to check myself and just say, hey, I have to find that middle frame of allowing him to be him and allowing him to grow in his own person with guidance versus me just completely controlling how I want him to be. That's also very difficult. And you can ask any parent who's raising anyone with autism, that's difficult to raise them to a specific way, right? Like that's hard. So you really got to just get to know them and, kind of raise them in a way that works best for them, not, what you're used to or what you've seen growing up. And, through counseling and therapy, it was like, okay, I had to get through a lot of that, right? Like looking at how I'm raising him versus how I was raised is two different worlds, right? I didn't have autism. He does. I mean, we came from a way more tougher love back then than right now, right? Right now, we are actually, even talking about mental health and being aware. We didn't hear about that back then. So it's just a whole different world. So, if you want to be, and me personally, I do, want to be the best parent you can be, you definitely have to be able to adjust and learn, in what environment am I raising my son in?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and I want you to kind of dig in a little bit more about the book as well. But let me ask you this: from going from single life in visitations per se to having your autistic son now in the house, trying to learn all the things that you need to learn, and it kind of sounds like you kind of were a little tough on yourself, is what it sounds like. You were a little tough on yourself. You had to figure out to give yourself grace. This is a new thing for you. Tell the dads who are wanting to do this as far as taking on the responsibility of their kids, and even more trying for you. What does that look like? What do they have to do to get in that space mentally? I heard you say counseling, therapy. So many times we run away from that. We think that, we can't do therapy. We can't do. Tell us what that looked like for you, that making that transition overall.
I would say I actually did start counseling before he came. Like once we had that discussion that he would live with me. And for the record, it wasn't a fight or anything. It was just a conversation, me and mom, we just decided that. And then, that's what happened. But, after we did have that conversation, I did, go through counseling just on my own, just to prepare for that. And then when he got here, I had him see, just a counselor to kind of discuss with him and for the transition, because he was actually coming from a different state. So, for a teenage boy with autism, that could be a lot. And I have to give him his credit because he definitely handled it like a champ. But like I said, I had, my own just, transitioning to be that full-time parent. And even after that, right? Like after he came, it was just more things that I'm like getting to know about myself, right? So a lot of times, a lot of things I didn't know about myself until I had to raise him. And then I was like, okay, now I'm seeing certain things and understanding certain stuff. So it's like, all right, well, we just go back, we got to revisit certain things and, just to kind of, make sure I'm on the right track as far as, how I'm thinking and like I said, it helping, identify, the difference between my feelings and in real decisions, real choices.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So I do want to mention that DeAndre's son goes to a school, and let me read the name of the school correctly. Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And tonight was actually the prom at his school, and he got news that his son actually won prom king. So that is amazing news. I'm sure he's, as they say, grinning from cheek to cheek, right?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. That is a big deal, and very happy for that he's able to be, in a school where he can be free to be himself, and that matters. Um, so tell us a little bit more about the book. Let's kind of dig in. So you got the revelation that, okay, I want to kind of share this experience with people who are going through similar situations. You want to shine light on autism. In the beginning, were you thinking, okay, this is needed, or just I'm just going to take a dive? Kind of, what was your mindset?
Honestly, it was just me getting it out, not
Yeah.
because it didn't really hit me as far as like, it's needed
Mm,
until, I started to share with people that I'm actually doing it. And then
okay.
that's when it was like him getting the feedback, like, no, you really need to finish this. It's needed. You really need to finish this. Right. And
Yeah.
so for me, as I'm writing it, I'm like, just finish it. Like that was my whole thing. It was like, I think I had more of a feeling of accomplishment when I finished it versus when it was published. It was just like the just completing what I started to me
Yeah.
was big. And so then of course, like when it is actually published and I'm getting all the support and feedback from parents who, has a child with autism, or, somebody might have a neighbor or a family member, or
Yeah.
just that to me brought a lot, like as far as satisfaction, just hearing people saying, oh, I know someone with this. I'm going to refer this, or or of course, like the ones with, I think the very first um, feedback I got was a woman who said that her husband, who's a military veteran, and so you can imagine how he is in his home, right? And so they have a child with autism, and she was saying that she was reading the book, and she noticed one day that some pages were marked, or like someone else was reading that book. And so she said one day she walked in and heard her husband talk to her son, and was like, he was, I'm paraphrasing, but he was saying something like, I want you to feel included in the family. I'm going, I want, this and that. And as one part of my book, I didn't even think that was going to be something that
Yeah.
stood out to people.
Yeah.
But, just hearing that
Mm,
book kind of helped that relationship. And like I said, because I know it's tough with the military mindset and the
yeah.
background, and then
Yeah.
raising a child with autism. So it's
Yeah.
like that could be very, very, very tough. So seeing that it got through to someone like that, it's kind of
Amazing.
made me understand, okay, yeah, it was really needed.
Yeah. It sounds amazing. So what part has faith played in your life, and as that relates to like your faith, your religion, what part has that played in your life?
Um, it definitely helped me get through the writing process. There was a lot going on, and whether it's career wise, personal life, a lot. And
Mhm.
so definitely there was times when I'm like, yeah, no, I don't feel like doing this no more. And then
Yeah.
you know just just like I said, life just happening.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, prior to writing that book, I didn't, really go to church that much.
Mm.
But I did, kind of like in the middle process of writing, like halfway done. And like I said, it was some things, going on that, made one of my good friends like suggesting, maybe you should, go back to church, or just go.
Mhm.
And so I went, and I didn't think I was going to go back, but as like I said, throughout
Mhm.
the writing process, I would. And honestly, it became where I would get more of my ideas from. So I'm like sitting in church with a notebook, like writing down little things that I'm listening to, or that they're saying, and I'm like, okay, that's bringing up more thoughts and more ideas. And so I would leave church and go somewhere and just start typing. So, I want to say that that's nothing but God right there, right? Like just bringing me to that, whether it was something that made me go to church, or I think just everything aligned for me to start going back. And then I think every Sunday I went through, it was like, okay, another message that I needed to hear, another thing that was actually directly hidden for me. So like I said, throughout this book, I'm just thinking about the different ideas that I got while I was just simply sitting in churches listening. So I feel like it definitely played a big part in the writing process. But even if, when I didn't go to church, I still had a strong relationship with God. And I feel like that once I started to be aware of a lot of things myself, I really started to be aware of a lot of things that God put out for everyone. And even in my life, particularly, just things that start to make sense. And so, I just started, like I said, that was my first act of faith, really just putting a book out, because that's the first time I've ever done something like this public. I'm naturally a reserved person. So just putting a book out and having, my work out into the world like that was probably the biggest leap of faith,
Yeah, I think that's amazing. You definitely have done something that's very amazing and going to be a very good tool for a lot of people that are going through this journey. And so, yeah, we salute you for not only, talking about it, but also, like you said, talking about the accountability and how you've learned, being open to say, you know what, I didn't have it all, but through, trial and error or whatever, you learned it, and so I think that is amazing. Again, the name of his book is My Favorite Mistakes, Lessons I've Learned Through Accountability. This is author DeAndrae Hinton. Let me say hello to some of the viewers that are watching tonight. We've got Dr. Antonino. She is tuning in tonight. Hello. And she said, thank you for what you do, DeAndrae. And then we've got Miss Evelyn Woods. Hello, Miss Evelyn, for tuning in tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. We've got lots of people tuning in. Feel free to drop comments or questions if you have any questions. Let me kind of ask you this. Autism Dad's Social Club, kind of give us a breakdown of what this group, I mean, obviously we know what the mission is, but what does this look like?
So I guess I could tell you the story of how I even came across the club.
Okay.
So like I said, for the last 2 years, me and my son were at the same school. And one of the counselors at that school sent me an email with just different resources, for autism and parents who are raising kids on the spectrum. And one of them was, a link for the Autism Dad Social Club. And so I saw that they had a Facebook group and a page, and I had, just sent a message, and, they responded, and, I went out to their meeting, to the very next meeting. It was a group just started by 3 dads who were meeting at a adaptive behavior center. So we call them ABA centers here. And, they just, continue to keep contact and, and decide to form a club. And so that's how they got started. And then, as it grew, like I said, it got to me in my school, and, I got involved, as a dad. And, after maybe a few months into the group, they asked me to be on the executive committee of the group. And, that's been going great. Just being a resource for the other dads. We grow every time we have a dads meetup. We're getting a new dad to show up and share their story. And it's good because, a lot of us didn't know about a lot of these resources, especially me. Like I didn't know a lot of resources, even though I was in, special education as a profession, right? Like I still didn't know a lot of resources for parents. I just did a lot of research on the actual disability.
Right.
So, just good to be able to hear other dads and things that they've come across as resources. And then all of us have a different profession that specializes in something, not necessarily, related to special needs, but, maybe a professor here, a lawyer here, or, someone who's working with somewhere to where there's a dad who come up with a problem and someone else has either a solution or knows someone with one. And so that's good. They're saying, like I said, just that fellowship moment to where we can just all get together, because we do that at least once a month, just all get together as dads and just kind of, discuss some things, and it gives us a place to just unwind a little bit. And then we also throw events for families, and those are really fun because, that's a time for the families to bring their child and have a seat and let us, kind of make sure they're safe. And, if they like to just take off running, let them take off running. We got a dad that's going to be over there that's going to watch them. And, it just feels good telling parents, sometimes they'll come and say, hey, what do we do? I say, you do absolutely nothing. You have a seat, you get something to eat, get a drink, and let your kid just experience everything that we have set up for all of the kids there. And just sometimes, like, you just see that deep breath that they take after they sit down. It's like, that's the whole point, right? To be able, because we know, as dads of kids that are on the spectrum, that few hours break from having to turn your head and make sure that nothing's going on is worth a lot. And we often attend fairs and different events that are there for vendors, such as yours that is coming up. For parents. And so when we're telling parents, like, this is what we do, this is the, what we're about, some of them just break down in front of us in tears, just like so appreciative of what we do, just knowing that, hey, if I brought my kid to this event, I can sit down and relax for however long time that I could. And, a lot of parents don't get that opportunity.
I had to take a deep breath just hearing you say that right now. I'm thinking to myself, I'm a single mom, and just thinking to myself, I feel that way a lot. And my child doesn't have autism, but I feel that way. And I can only imagine, with your child having autism, just anybody can't keep him, just anybody can't, watch him. And, you have to have a heart. You have to be patient. You have to, there's some qualifications, right? And so I get that. I'm sitting here thinking to myself what that must look like for those parents to walk into a space and be able to literally, like, take a moment like that to just not do anything. Like they don't know that on a regular basis because they're constantly in parent mode. What I've been saying, and the way I put it is, I don't get to be Stephanie very often, is what I say. I'm mom all the time. So I've got a son that's almost 30, and then I have one that's 10 that just turned 10. So I'm doing this thing. I'm almost 50. Okay. And so I don't really have a lot of Stephanie time, when I'm working, like the conferences, the events, and things of that sort. Of course, I'm Stephanie, but I'm author Stephanie. I'm not Stephanie, right? So I'm picturing in my mind those parents walking into your social events and thinking like they really get to be themselves in that moment and just take a deep breath. And for that hour, 2 hours, or whatever you have, the peace that they must feel, Wow. So when is your next committee member? How do people find out about this? For people who have not joined an organization like this, DeAndre, what do they do to get plugged in so that they can experience this?
Well, you can definitely go on our website, which is the autism-socialclub.org. And you can get on our mailing list, and we'll mail you all our newsletter, which entitles everything that we're into for that month, and what events that we have coming up for families as well as for dads. And then we get a lot of wives that have their husbands come in, or they're the ones who find out about us and they recommend their husbands come. So we get, I want to say about almost 80-90% of our members came from a recommendation, from their wife or significant other. So like I said, it's Autism Dad Social Club, but we definitely, cater to all the families. We encourage them to bring their siblings, even if they, don't have autism. We still want them to be able to come around and interact and just understand that, there are other siblings out there that understand what it's like to have a brother or sister with a disability, and they can even, kind of, talk and share some stories and stuff. So, like I said, we try to cater our events to the entire family.
Yeah, I think that's amazing because not only do the parents, feel a certain change in their lifestyle, but also siblings. If there's siblings in the family, they're gonna have some necessary adjustments as well. What kind of future endeavors do you have coming up? Any events that are coming up that you'd like to announce?
We actually don't have any events this month. We're going to be attending a lot of different events, so kind of making our presence known, getting our networking out there, because every event we go to, we get 2-3 pages full of, emails and contact information from parents. And that lets us know that there's still not a lot of parents that know about us. Not only that, there's not a lot of groups out there for dads. So there's, a few, groups out there for moms, and which we do partner with them as well. So, and definitely appreciate their contribution to the community too. But it's very few communities out there for dads to come together. And so, we understand that we're young and we're growing. So, we kind of took some time to plan out some events that we're just going to show up to and get our name out there and try to get as many people a part of the community as possible. We have some, we do an annual back to school event. And so that's a real big thing that we get a lot, because that's typically an outside event, which can fit a lot of people. So, that's one of our next biggest events, and that's going to come in July. There'll be more details about that coming soon. But yeah, just encourage people to, come to our website, join our mailing list. Please, we do run off of donations. So, there's a place where you can donate on the website, and, and even just with your presence, right? Just sharing our information with families that could use it. Again, we try to be a resource. So when you go on our website, you'll find a list of resources and places that, work with children and adults with special needs, because, all of us have different age students. We have, children. So a lot of our dads have, younger ages, 5, 6, 7. I have someone 17. We have a few dads who have adult age children. So, there's always resources for everybody there. And that's what we encourage people to come and take a look at. I think your mic is muted.
Listen, I'm over here just talking.
Is it over?
So what I was saying quietly over here is make sure you check out DeAndrae Hinton's book, My Favorite Mistakes, Lessons I've Learned Through Accountability. Make sure you go out and check it out. Where can they find your books?
My book is available at barnesandnoble.com, Amazon, of course, as well as Walmart.com. So you can find my book in either one of those websites to order and, be delivered. I think as far as I know future endeavors for myself, I definitely am working with some teachers, and we are, trying to develop some, our facilities, for, individuals with autism, because, here in Houston, I know, which is, I'm sure not, comparable to other cities our size, but, for if you are, on a wait list for assisted living, that list is, over, 50, 60,000 people long. And so, a lot of our teachers that that I work with, also have children on the spectrum, and so we all kind of have that question, right? Like, what's going to happen when what's going to happen if something happens to myself, right? So,
Right.
we're getting together, and we're, pretty soon we're going to have our own, educational facilities, living facilities, and things like that.
Wow.
And the inspiration really just came from, my son going to the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, because he's in Austin Monday through Friday, and then I get him, Friday evening, and then he goes back on Sunday. So they actually are teaching them, independent living skills, and once they get out of school, they're going to the dorms, and they're teaching them how to, like I said, live independently. They're shopping, they're cooking, they're doing all kinds of things. And, it just so happened that he also had a few other, health impairments when he was born. And that was prior to him being diagnosed with autism. And one, of course, was, a visual impairment. And he's had a few surgeries, which I detailed in the book. He's had some surgeries just on his eyes alone. So even though he can see, pretty well, he's always going to qualify for that, particular disability. And so that's how he was able to even go to this school. And so I'm just sitting here like, if we had something like that for kids with autism, that would be awesome, right? Because a lot of our kids with autism won't qualify for a place like that. So if we did have something like that for kids with autism, that would be great. So like I said, I'm working with some teachers, and if anyone out there who would like to be a part of that, or just want to share some ideas and thoughts, or about with that, please reach out and get in touch with me.
Yes. Now, where can they find you? Are you on Facebook? Are you on social media? Where else are you besides the books being sold on Amazon? Are you on any social media platforms?
Yes, ma'am. I have an Instagram page. That it's author DeAndrae Hinton, and they can search me up there. My Facebook page, I haven't had one for a author, but I do have my own Facebook page. So yes, for Instagram, it's author.deandre.hinton. And that's where they can find me, where they can get more information and updates on books and things like that, and other projects. And then on Facebook, just, my first name, DeAndrae. They can search me there, and yeah, just reach out for me. And then, of course, my email is a better way to get in contact with me, which is my first name, DeAndrae0315 @gmail.com. That's DeAndrae 0315 @gmail.com. And, it's the easiest way to get in contact with me, and just shoot me an email, and, we can start having a conversation like that. But, I'm definitely welcoming anyone, parents especially, because, I definitely like to, and educators, like to build stuff with people that are passionate about what we're doing. So, I definitely am seeking other individuals like-minded.
Yeah, very, very good. Listen, I have really enjoyed our conversation tonight, DeAndrae. We're going to close on this note. I'm going to give you 3 words, and I want you to tell me which word you identify with the most, and then tell the viewers and I why. The first word is healing, empowerment, transformation. Which one of those words stands out the most, and tell us why?
Even though all those to me go in order, right? Like, you heal, then you empower, then you transform to who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I guess the one that stands out is the healing part, because that's definitely the first part, but it's also the hardest, because you have to be aware that there's a problem. And a lot of people, and so in order to heal, first, you got to find out that, that there is a problem, and then you got to find out where that problem came from. And then that way you can properly heal it. And so, that the healing process, to me, it comes with a lot of awareness, and then, of course, accountability. So you can,
that big word.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So, and just even on a personal journey, just understanding, like, how it was prior to healing, and then how it was after, and the fact that you're still going to heal for the rest of your life. Honestly, like, there is no end to the healing process. So you're going to continue to heal throughout your life as you understand and come across more issues that you have, or problems that you might come across, and when you are becoming more aware of yourself and
Right.
aware of your emotions and aware of some of the decisions that you made that were led by emotions, and then traumas and things like that. And it's a lot, and some people, like you said, don't even want to start that process, right? They don't even want to go into the whole counseling or therapy process. But even when you get into it, you understand that you think that all right, I finally got it, and then all right, nah, there's something else, and then so it's like it's a continuing journey. And like I said, I don't think you ever stop healing. I just think you just come, with that mindset that, all right, I'm ready to heal. And, I think things go up from there.
Listen, thank you again. I unmuted myself this time. Thank you so much for being on tonight. DeAndrae Hinton, author, educator, Autism Dad Social Club member. Listen, you're doing some amazing things. We support you. Make sure that you reach out to him. If you are a parent, a teacher, an educator, and you can pour into what they're trying to get going, make sure that you reach out to lend a helping hand. Okay. Thank you again, DeAndrae, for being here tonight. Any closing thoughts?
I just wanted to share out there and put this out there too. I was actually watching something, and I kind of, it kind of stuck with me. They were kind of speaking about, some of the kids and some of the individuals that are nonverbal, right? Like they're, autism on the lower end of the spectrum, and they're nonverbal. And a lot of times people mistake that for they don't understand. And I just wanted to put that out there, that just because they're nonverbal does not mean they don't understand. So the crazy looks or the remarks when, they make a sound or they stim or they do something that's out of the, social norm, they understand that, and, sometimes, you go places and you'll realize that there are people that don't want to be around a person like that. They just don't want to see that, or they don't want to hear that. And one thing that stood out to me, when I was watching that particular video and they were talking about this, is that it made me think, and it kind of related to Jesus, right? It was like, what if they know how we feel and love us anyway? And that kind of hit hard, right? Because like I work with these kids all the time, and I've definitely worked with the adults, and it's like I can imagine how it is in public, or how their families are with them in public, and how they're kind of looking around and wondering what people are thinking, who's staring, who's this and that. But no one ever considers what the actual person or the child is feeling or thinking.
Yeah.
And it's like we assume that, again, because they can't communicate with us, they can't talk, that they don't understand. And it's like, what if they do understand them and they just choose to love us anyway? And that's a tough concept, right? That's a very tough concept, to come to grips with, right? Because you see it all the time. The time. And so, I just want to put that thought out there to people, who are even going through that, right? As parents who are struggling with, can I take my child out in public? Like, what will people think if I take them out in public and, they have an outburst or they have a behavioral reaction to something? And it's like, I get it. I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
But again, consider that child, consider that person that you're raising, consider the person that you're taking care of.
Yeah.
And like I said, just understand that they do know, they feel it. And, even though they can't communicate it to some extent, they understand it. And they still choose to love us anyway. So, just keep that.
I think that's a beautiful point to make. We definitely should, it's a thing, of course, it's a prayer thing, but it would be so beautiful if we didn't judge each other, and hold things against each other for disabilities or habits or, things like that. Because like you said, people do understand, and a lot of people that have disabilities or ailments or whatever, they can't help it. It's beyond them. And so, again, thank you so much for being here tonight, DeAndrae. It's amazing having you here on the platform. I'm going to give you, did you meet Carrie that was at the National Black Book Festival?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes,
Carrie's going to be on in a couple weeks, and he's out traveling, promoting his book. He has a son also with autism.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he did an event here in Houston, and me and my son went to it.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, I'm happy to hear that, because he's traveling all over the place with his book and everything. So, again, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to all of you that has tuned in tonight to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seton Sunday Show. Make sure that you share this, especially if you know someone that's been struggling with making the adjustments, needing resources, or just needing somebody to understand. DeAndrae has just told us about some organizations where parents can go get help, get a relief, even if it's just for an hour and a half. Just having that helping hand of somebody that truly understands what you're going through. He is in the Houston area, so who knows? You may want to start one of those organizations in a different city. But reach out to DeAndrae and his counterparts and kind of see what you can do to help spread the mission. Okay. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, DeAndrae.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Hold on just a moment, DeAndrae. Okay.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemsetontheauthor@gmail.com.